Morning all, or depending when you're watching this, it could be any time of the day. Bit of a different video today, a little bit of a sad one, because we are sitting here taking in the news that Nintendo President and CEO Satoru Iwata has sadly passed away yesterday evening. And I thought I would make a little video just explaining why we should all be a little bit sad about this and why he was, in the sphere of video games, really one of the most important men pretty much since video games came around. Now, my first encounter with the works of Mr. Iwata was when I was a small child, and back in those days we had the Nintendo Game Boy. And my very favourite game for the Nintendo Game Boy was Kirbys Dreamland, which was made by a company called HAL, which was largely, let's say, run by Satoru Iwata. Now, it wasn't always run by him, it was actually run from 1993. But Kirbys Dreamland was this amazing game on the Game Boy. It was one of the easiest games I've ever played, still to this day. It unlocks a hard mode when you beat it, but at the time it was kind of almost unfailable. Similarly, it was one of the shortest games I'd ever played. I think my record is something like 20 minutes start to finish. Maybe I'm remembering that a little bit wrong, but we're going to try it a little bit later on today. But it was a wonderful game. It's the kind of Nintendo game that really kind of shapes childhood. It's nice. It's friendly. It's just a lovely game. Now, Mr. Iwata didn't actually start with Kirbys Dreamland. The first game he was credited with was Balloon Fight on the Nintendo Entertainment System. But he then went on and principally did a lot of work with HAL, which made a whole bunch of Kirby games, including the aforementioned Kirbys Dreamland, Kirby's Adventure on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and as well as multitude of other Kirby games over the years, games like Earthbound, or Mother 2 as it was called in Japan, a wonderful little RPG which sold and reviewed fairly badly when it was initially released in the US, but has since been re-released, I think in 2013 it was re-released, a couple of years ago, on the Nintendo Wii U as a download game, and has since been given really the credit it deserves as a wonderful game. And a lot of you, if you're unfamiliar with Earthbound, think of Ness, he who has been featuring in the Super Smash Bros. Series for a number of iterations now. That's kind of where we're going with Earthbound. And Mr. Iwata was also the face of the Nintendo Direct, I suppose videos you would call them, that were put out over the internet. He really became almost the public face of the Nintendo corporation over the last few years, essentially talking directly to the customer in a way that a lot of other companies really weren't interested in doing. It was a case of, hello, I'm the president and CEO of this company. In all reality, I should probably have more important things to do, but actually the most important thing for me right now is talking directly to you guys, the gamers, and showing you what's coming up in the near future. And I think a lot of people really appreciated that. It showed a really friendly, hands-on approach, which is missing from so many companies, which I think maybe overly focused on profits. So a little bit of a potted history. He did become the HAL president in 1993 after doing a whole bunch of coding. And one thing I've discovered which a lot of people didn't know, in fact I didn't know until fairly recently, he actually did a bunch of coding on Pokemon Gold and Silver back on the Game Boy Color, and went about adapting and recoding a bunch of stuff from Pokemon Blue and Red so that Pokemon Stadium for the N64 would work, which is a nice little fact I didn't really know before. Now, he became a director of the Nintendo company back in 2000 and became the president in 2012 and really became pretty much responsible for the day-to-day running of the company before becoming CEO in 2013. And one thing which must not be overlooked is that when we're back in 2012, we're talking about the realm of the GameCube, and Nintendo wasn't really flourishing back in 2012. No, it wasn't on its last legs or anything stupid like that. But we're talking only a couple years after Sega really hung up its boots in terms of hardware development with the Dreamcast and went wholly into software development. And looking at the sales of the GameCube, Nintendo were not doing quite as well. But the GameCube came along and it wasn't terribly successful. But then in 2004 we saw the Nintendo DS, and that was mightily successful. It was hugely successful. Now, to be fair, it was actually when the DS Lite came out that really saw a huge amount of success. But the DS came and made Nintendo oodles of money. But then again, they'd always been successful in the handheld sphere. They've had a near monopoly on that since the Game Boy came out. They've never had any real competitors until mobile gaming came along. But then in 2006... the Nintendo Wii came out. And that's when things really changed. Nintendo came from this video games company that was pretty much the old guard and was rapidly losing ground to PlayStation and, in a way, Xbox as well, to really becoming the front runner. And not only did it make a load of money, that wasn't really the point of the Nintendo Wii and Nintendo DS, although they most certainly did, and I'm sure the shareholders are happy about this. What they really did was they opened up gaming to a whole new avenue of people. It opened up gaming to people who never really played games before. And that, I suppose, is something we can take away from the Nintendo company as they've been under the guidance of Mr. Iwata. Not only have they given us new Mario, new Zelda, new Kirby, etc., they've opened up gaming to people who never played gaming before. And really, as a business case study, I mean, for those that don't know, I actually do teach business. That's one of my day jobs. And I use Nintendo as case studies for many things, including the product life cycle. Now, I'm not going to bore you too much with a whole bunch of business theory. That's not really the point of this video. But a product life cycle basically tells us that every product is launched, gets a bit successful, everyone gets bored of it, and then it dies. And what Nintendo have done with handheld systems from the Game Boy right through to, I suppose, a new Nintendo 3DS, is they've done different iterations of very similar things, and they've really kept the same basic product going since the 80s with no end in sight. And that is still my preferred case study for when I teach my students about the product life cycle. For me, I'm going to miss the Kirby games, and I'm going to miss the Nintendo Direct. And to be honest, I'm going to miss silly little things like his very last, I say last public appearance. His last appearance really was as a puppet at this year's Nintendo E3 conference. And I think that kind of sums up Mr. Iwata and Nintendo under Mr. Iwata. It's a whole bunch of fun. Now, I haven't put ads on this video, I haven't put my logo on the thumbnail, I'm not going to give the usual kind of requests at the end of the video. I hope you don't take this as a cynical exercise. I've seen some wonderful pictures, really kind of condolence over the past kind of 24 hours, and I don't mean to stand on anybody's toes, but I'm not much of an artist, but I do like making these kind of videos. So my little tribute was just explaining in my own words how great Mr. Iwata was. And if you see this as a cynical exercise, and I apologise to you, and well, I mean, to be honest, you've probably switched it off by now. I hope you take this video as intended. The one request I will make is that you share something about Mr. Iwata. It doesn't have to be this video. It could be any video. It could be an article on the internet or one of the wonderful pictures I've seen around. I think we should all remember and kind of feel a bit sad today at the passing of one of video games' greats. But I think more importantly, we should all just appreciate the wonderful work he's done. I mean, for my entire lifetime, certainly. And with that, I'm off for another round of Kirbys Dreamland.